Lesson 2.3, Solving Multi-Step Equations. The objective for this lesson is to solve multi-step equations using distributive property and other techniques with one variable equations. No vocabulary again, so you can either leave that section blank in your notes or you can use it for additional notes if you run out of room. To solve multi-step equations, you form a series of simpler equivalent equations. To do so, use the properties of equality, inverse operations, and properties of real numbers. You use the properties until you isolate the variable. Problem 1. What is the solution of 5 equals 5m minus 23 plus 2m? Now, solving multi-step equations can involve more than two steps. It can involve 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. So step 1, we want to rewrite the equation. 5 equals 5m minus 23 plus 2m. And again, if drawing the vertical line through the equal sign helps you so that you do the same operation on the left-hand side of the line, that is fine by us. So step 2, you want to combine like terms. You want to look at the left side and the right side and see if you can combine anything on their specific side. So on the right side of the equal sign, we see like terms 5m and positive 2m. Okay, you always want to circle the sign in front of the like term as well so we can figure out if we're going to add or subtract these numbers. So 5m plus 2m is 7m. You bring everything else down. So now you have the equation 5 equals 7m minus 23. This becomes a two-step equation, just like we did in lesson 2.2. You undo subtraction by adding 23 to both sides. 5 plus 23 is 28, bring down 7m. And step 5, you undo multiplication by dividing both sides by 7. So you're left with 4 equals m. What is the solution of negative 8 times 2x minus 1 equals 36? Here we're going to solve an equation using the distributive property. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do is use the distributive property so that we get rid of those parentheses. Remember, you multiply every item inside parentheses regardless of the signs. Okay, so negative 8 times 2x is negative 16x. Negative 8 times negative 1 is positive 8. Keep that in mind. Equals 36. Okay, now again, this is a two-step equation. Negative 16x plus 8. We multiply, then add. So we're going to subtract and then divide. First thing we're going to do is subtract 8 from both sides. So negative 16x equals 28. And the last thing we're going to do is divide both sides by negative 16. Okay, and we can simplify this fraction. X equals 7 over negative 4. Do not turn it into a decimal. Just leave it like that. Now, we can also solve equations that contain fractions. This looks like a lot of information. That's because we're talking about two methods here. Okay? My personal preference is method number 2, but we're going to show you both methods in the case that you like method over 1 over method number 2. So we have the problem 3x over 4, minus x over 3 equals 10. Now, when we're adding and subtracting fractions, we have to have common denominators. So in method 1, we can write the like terms, because these two are like terms, but they don't have a common denominator. We can write the like terms using a common denominator and solve. Or in method 2, we can clear the fractions completely from the equation by multiplying everything by the common denominator. So let's look at method 1. Can we agree that the common denominator between 4 and 3 is 12? Okay? In order to rewrite 3x over 4 as with the denominator of 12, we have to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by 3. Ooh, that looks like a sloppy 3. So that's how you get 9x over 12. To get 3 to equal 12, we have to multiply by 4. So that means you multiply the numerator by 4. Okay? So the equivalent fractions are 9x over 12 and 4x over 12. So now that the equations are equivalent, the fractions are equivalent, you have 9x over 12 minus 4x over 12 equals 10. Now this is your new equation. So now we can subtract the two. Now we can combine like terms. Remember, when you're adding or subtracting fractions, you just add or subtract the numerators, leave the denominator the same. So 9x minus 4x is 5x over 12 equals 10. Okay? Then you're going to multiply. You could do this one or two ways. You can multiply each side by the denominator of 12 and then divide by 5, or you can multiply by the reciprocal. The reciprocal of 5 over 12 is 12 over 5. Notice how I'm not multiplying by x, just the numbers, so we're left with x. Okay? 10 can be written as 10 over 1. 5 goes into 5 one time. 5 goes into 10 two times. Therefore, x is equal to 24. Or, yeah. Okay? Now, here, we can clear the fractions from the equation from the beginning. Okay? We know that the common denominator is 12, so if you don't like to deal with fractions, just multiply everything by 12. Okay? By multiplying the fractions by 12, the denominators go away. Okay? So 12 times, oh, well, actually, they don't go away. Okay? You multiply everything by 12. So 12 times 3 is 36 x divided by 4. That's how you got 9x. And 12 times x is 12x divided by 3. And that's how you got 4x. Okay? Equals 120. Whatever you do to the left-hand side, do to the right-hand side. Okay? And now we have 9x minus 4x is 5x. 5x equals 20 divided by 5, and x is equal to 25. Solving an equation that contains decimals. Okay, now in your textbook, they solve this problem, okay, 3.5 minus 0.02x equals 1.24. Now, you can do it the way the textbook does it, if this is how you find it easy to do, or you can just treat it as numerical numbers and do the same thing that you would do otherwise. So here we have the equation contains tenths, which is 3.5, and hundredths, 0.02 and 1.24. The greatest number of digits to the right of any decimal in this problem is 2. So multiply each side of the equation by 10 squared or 100 to clear the decimals. So we're going to use the distributive property here. We're going to multiply everything on the left-hand side by 100. And we're going to multiply 1.24 by 100, distributive property. So when we simplify, we have 350 minus 2x equals 124. Oops. Okay? So here we have 350 is positive, so we're going to subtract 350 by both sides. Keep in mind that this is a negative 2x, so negative 2x equals negative 226. Divide by negative 2, and you have x is equal to 113. Again, this problem, along with the problem earlier with the fractions, we will spend more time on tomorrow. Now, these two sample problems, I want you guys to try on your own, because these two problems you should be able to do. Okay, but I do want to look at these two. We have solved each equation. Here's the problem that we were dealing with just before with the fraction, and here's the one with the decimals. Okay, so let's look at these very quickly. So I would like to multiply, where is it? I want to multiply everything here by 20. Why am I choosing 20? Because the common denominator between 5 and 4 is 20. Okay, so 20 times 2b is 40b. 40b divided by 5 is 8b. Plus 20b times 20 times 3b is 60b, and 60b divided by 4 is 15b. And 3 times 20 is 60. Now we can combine like terms. 8 plus 15 is 23b. Equals 60. Divide by 23. B is going to equal, you could just leave this as a fraction for now, we'll worry about it tomorrow, 60 over 23. Okay? Now, let's look at this problem over here, number 2. 0.5x minus 2.325 equals 3.95. We have tenths, hundredths, and thousands. So we're going to multiply everything by 1,000. Okay? So 1,000 times 0.5, we're going to have 500x minus 2,325 equals 3,950. And again, this just turns into a two-step problem. You're going to add 2,325 to both sides, then you're going to divide by 500. I want you guys to finish this problem up and the two problems in the previous slides, okay? And bring them to class tomorrow so we could talk about it. See you tomorrow.